that's gonna get. Anyway, so I got an hour and a half before work. I thought I'd just do this video real quick. I just dropped my friend off. Not friend, my housemate guy. He's my neighbor who lives in the room next to me. So we need to lift to work. I used to have a bike, and I used to, pedal it to work and stuff. So I know what it's like to having to do be riding around in the elements. It's not very fun. My mom used to say it used to build character. I say it builds endurance, which is an aspect of character. But I digress. Now, I wanted to. I don't believe I've talked about this before, or at least made it in a proper video or subject about, but there was this like everyone asks, like, what is the quintessential, male movie? Everyone divides the movies up by, what their demographics for. Like, what was this movie really meant for? Well, this is the dating stuff. That's called chick flicks. This is called the action movies, and so, and me, it's like there were a lot of movies I just didn't want to be dragged to, particularly with people, you know. So there was sometimes it was like I wanted to go to a movie, I'll go to it myself because if I wanted to walk out, I could, and have to wait. Like, wait a minute, that person wanted to watch this, so I'm stuck here. I'm pacing back and forth in the hallway saying I want out. So I think I'm coming down with something. So that's why my throat, that's why I'm sounding a little weird, a little froggy. So bear with me. Uh, so yeah, this one movie where I think it's the quintessential male, like the quintessential male psychology, is a movie called, it was called Open Range, with Dustin Hoffman, I believe. He was he's known to make some cowboy movies, and was it Dustin Hoffman or was that the guy from Rain Man? I forget. He was the guy. Who was the guy who was who played um he's the guy who fell in love with Hot Lips in MASH as the original movie. He was that guy. That movie was Dustin Hoffman, I think. I'm pretty sure I'm getting that wrong. Anyway, so um, the movie is a western. It was made back in the early 2000s. It was a big favorite with me and my family. I liked it. My mom liked it, and Dean liked it because he's a country boy. Yeah, about the country as I am. Um, it's to help sell his manliness. Anyway, so it's these free rangers, which are cattle drivers. They're cowboys, and they herd these cattle across states to wherever it is they needed to take them to be sold and done whatnot with them. And there's four of them. We have our middle-aged leader guy, which is Kevin Costner. Um, and then we have the Dustin Hoffman guy, who's the elderly, stoic, wise person. We had the young kid, who was this French guy played by somebody. And we have the big guy, which I'm pretty sure I've seen in some teen film somewhere. And yeah, but he's like um, the Lenny of the group. Not very bright, but he's the big strong guy. So he's a Lenny from Mice and Men, pretty much is what his character is. Anyway, so they come across this town, and they've done this before. It's nothing new, and it's we go to town, and it's like all right, we'll stay here for the weekend or whatever until the storm clears. They can't really walk in the rain, so they make camp, they buy goods, and everyone says, okay, the law of this little block long town, this new town, is no free grazers allowed here because there was a stampede, so we're just not allowing him here anymore. That's not necessarily the viewings of the town. That's more the viewings of the guy who runs the town, the business guy, the guy who runs the cattle. His is not free range. His is pinned, in a fenced off. Why he insists on hammering that home is really anyone's really guess. It's not really explained. It's just a guy who wants to feel in charge of something. So yeah. Anyway, so tensions rise. They want to run him off. They come back. They defend themselves because they're not doing anything wrong. They're away from the town. They are no real danger, but they're a potential danger. Ooh. So things kept escalating to the point where, but dude, why are you hassling us for? We're just here. And so he, they kill off Lenny. Well, they beat up Lenny. He says they got into a fight. He goes, Lenny doesn't start fights. They said that he started fights, and he says Lenny doesn't start fights. He ends them. So they go, they pick him up. He has a broken arm, and and a concussion. They take him back. They go off and stop some other bad guys. Come back, and Lenny's been shot. Dog's been shot. The young kid has internal bleeding. Take him to the doctor, and then a lot of minor location bouncing back and forth happens where they go to the bar, back to the doctors, to the bar, back to the doctors. In the course of one night, it's like 6 different trips, which is a little annoying if you bother to take a step back and look at it. But narratively, it works out pretty fine because, quite frankly, what the fuck else are they going to do? They can't exactly sleep that night. So this all takes place in the span of like maybe a 3-day weekend or something like that. But back and forth, back and forth. He kind of falls in love with the doctor's wife, who's known to his doctor's sister. Them getting a drop on someone, trying to get a drop on them. This final shootout, and getting Cuban cigars, Swiss chocolate, all for the low price of back then of $200, which is like, wait a minute, $200 for imports? Seriously? Apparently $200 back then was a lot of money. Anyway, the point I'm getting to is all this is all set up. Now, in the middle of all this, they're going to have to come down to them fighting back at some big shootout. And that's where the guy, this middle-aged guy, has to realize, okay, I'm going to get into another fight. And he has this estranged past, which is now being revealed as he was a gunslinger back in the day, but he doesn't want to talk about it. We see it's a lot of heavy feelings he has to deal with. And so, and the old man knows, don't press him about it. Just leave him be. If he wants to say it, he'll say it. And when he's damn good and ready. Because he sees him suffering. He doesn't want to do this. They both don't want to do this. But they're boxed into a corner, It's not just revenge, it's also about survival. We got to stop these guys before they just finish us off. So in the middle of the night, the guy just starts talking in the middle of the night. And fortunately, the old man manages to come to, or is in a light sleep, so he comes and listens to the story. And he tells him about his past and all that. It's a simple 2-minute backstory thing that he just goes on about. And then that's it. And I think that's just like such a typical or standard or broad sense mindset for the male mind, which is, no, he's not going to just rip his heart out and just say, here's my backstory. It's like, no, it hurts. You don't want to just rip out your heart and say here on a whim because someone asks you to. Well, what's your backstory? Here, let me just rip that out right there. Not everyone does that. Not everyone wants to do that. So, it shows a lot because about the male psychology. And even in the end, the old man says he went through all this death and destruction, and for what? You idiot! You did all this for a bunch of cows? Like, really, we would have been there and gone. You wouldn't have never seen us again. But you had to be an asshole about it, you know. So it's really a good, it's a really good film. I highly recommend it if you want to get more of a modern western or modern time made western. I find that one pretty good, as well as Open Road. People's called Open Road and Open Range are pretty good. Open Road has more tragic death in it, but it's still pretty good. It also starts the same guy, but he's older, I believe. So it was made afterwards. It was a 4-part TV movie or something like that, but it still has him in there. It's really good. Um, There's a scene in that movie where in Open Road where they kind of rescue these four little, not little, but these four. They're supposed to be like early 20-year-olds. They're supposed to be like 20-year-old Chinese ladies who are being sold on the market or whatever because they're on the West Coast now. And he, as a grandfather character, kind of befriends them because they're still out in the middle of nowhere. It's a covered wagon trail sort of thing. So he doesn't speak a word of Chinese, and they don't speak a word of English, and they don't get the interpreter until like further away. So that's still another 20 minutes away. So in the meantime, the old man is like, okay, I need to try to communicate somehow with these women. So he's there alone with three of the four, and he's like, okay, here, let's try to make this as simple as humanly possible. Okay, you're number one, and he points to one. He goes, you're one, you're two, you're three, and I think he says, oh, what was it? You're four, something like that. He gets to four first. Yeah, no, five of them, I guess. Because he says to place a one, he says you're number four, and she freaks out like, no, 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 not four, not four, because four is the sign of death. It's a very unlucky number. And she's like freaking out about it. And he's like, okay, 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 not four, not four, okay, okay, not four. Okay, you're the next number. You're five then. So you're one, you're two, you're three. He's like four, and then you're five. All right, which is rather ironic. What is it? Because number four, which he kind of points off to, is somewhere else. When she comes in, she kills herself the next day by jumping in front of a thing. It was a whole sad, tragic thing, but it all makes sense, apparently. And so I kind of like that he's trying to call, and then later on, they still treat him like a grandfatherly character, where he calls upon him. He says, "Okay, have a treat, like a cookie or a peanut or something, like it in his pockets." So they all like pat him down, like looking please for the cookie or whatever. So it's all smiles. So he gets along great with them, even though they don't share the same language. They know like basic words, this and that, and it helps along with the interpreter that they get later on. Um, yeah, so both movies are really really good. But anyway, getting back to what I said earlier with Open Range, was that it is supported by a scene in um, an Adam Sandler movie, that drama where he's not funny, not really. He plays it more straight, dramatic. What was that called? Spanglish. That's what it was. Spanglish. And he has a scene where the mom is not necessarily the mom is narrating, but the little girl is narrating this. Um, but she knows the facts and is narrating the scene that the mom is in, even though the daughter is not there. That the husband is driving his live-in housekeeper to the store or something like that. So she's in the car with him, and he is having a bit of an emotional moment, and he stops the car, and he's just kind of breaking down and kind of crying, and she refers to him as interesting that this guy has the emotions or description, like how would I describe him, because he acts more like a woman, because he's more expressive about his emotions. He's willing to cry in front of her. She has never seen that, because people are the general male ideal or sense of how I should be, is I don't cry. You know, don't cry in front of others. Don't show weakness. So when he's there showing weakness in front of her, it isn't because he doesn't care about her. He doesn't do it because he feels like she's like unimportant or not there or whatever. He does it because he doesn't need to save face in front of her. You know, he's not gonna care if she's gonna judge him. He's having this problem and he breaks down, and I need this moment. So, and I don't think that, and he finds that her general personality is she's not gonna really judge him about it. So, which she doesn't. She just finds it kind of odd. It's like, okay, this guy's actually having an emotional, expression in front of me. And they get along. Afterwards when they spend more time together, they come to like and respect each other pretty good, to the point of almost vaguely having a romance. I don't know why. The Jennifer Aniston character apparently does not deserve this guy in any shape, way, or form. So I was rather surprised that they still stay together by the end of the film. It's like, what, really? Couldn't go for the nicer lady, who has the kid with the actual worth ethic. She made like 200, like, no, she made like $400 because she actually spent her day picking up sea glass, as opposed to the kids who just said, fuck it, we're just gonna play. You know? Anyway, so, yeah, it also leads me into another movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where the Dalton is having that emotional breakdown after the luncheon, and he's in the parking lot, and he says, "I'm gonna have to go and do spaghetti westerns, damn it." And he says, "Here, put on the glasses. Here, just don't cry in front of the Mexicans." You know, that's the thing. The male image is do not show weakness, do not be sad or cry in front of others, particularly other males. So it's rather interesting seeing these characters. That's why you sympathize with them, even though they're strong characters. They, it shows that they have, emotional range. And this guy is hard because he feels that his career is over. He feels like he's over the hill. He isn't good enough. That's what Dalton's problem. Dalton's psychological problem was that he thought he was too old for this. But he goes off and play in these movies anyway, and it's like, you're still making movies. People still want you to do this. You know. So, it's not over. You know. But that's what you're so afraid of, was that he left TV for movies. It bombed. His career is over. You know, his 15 minutes are up, pretty much. Apparently, not quite yet. Anyway, back to Adam Sandler's character. His range, the reason he was feeling upset was he wants to have like maybe 2.5 to maybe 3 stars. 2.5 stars. He says 2.5 stars as he's opening the paper because he has a restaurant, which is pretty good. But if he gets a 4 or 5 star review or something like that, too many people who are not in the neighborhood will come, and it will not be the neighborhood's restaurant anymore. And he doesn't want to do that. So he had to give his top chef, who's getting other offers, he has to give him a stake in the business to keep him around because he's his top chef. So it's a very interesting thing to show male characters that you're rooting for to have range, in their emotions. They go through shit because all these stories are about life. Not this heroic character, but just life. People who get up and go to work and pay their bills and deal with family and real life issues. So it's rather neat seeing, the standard, more everyday man mindset, and that, yeah, not everyone's made of titanium sense of will. You know, the characters, have moments where they break down, like in Breaking Bad. How many times do you see people going like behind their wheel, breaking almost on the porch, just breaking down on complete sobs before they have to steel yourself. All right, let's go. You know. That's why we love the show so much. It's to show this sense of they're not this mindset of able to leap over it all. As we see in movies, in a lot of movies, characters are not that scared or not that like they're really able to handle the situation, no matter what it is, rather well. And so it's nice to see the drama characters actually act more like real people, even mentally and psychologically. Okay, so it's gone off about 20 minutes. Okay, I'll cut it off here. So yeah, so check the movies out, see what you think. Maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll find other movies that showcase that as well. Alright, so until next time, fair, faithful viewer. Excuse me, I'm getting kind of congested. So until next time, see the drive-ins, which will never die. Bye.